From small town South Dakota to the NFL, from the Bachelor to boardrooms in the Special Olympics stage, Dale Moss has never been defined by a single chapter. A former pro wide receiver and collegiate basketball star, he's now an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and storyteller driven by purpose. Whether he's building businesses in health and wellness, producing documentaries, or championing athletes with intellectual disabilities, Dale turns every opportunity into a platform for impact. Today, he shares his journey of resilience, reinvention, and leadership. Dale Moss joins us now on The Disruptors.
Hi, I want to welcome Dale Moss to the show, The Disruptors. And Dale, first of all, thanks for coming.
Hey, I appreciate being here.
Is this the first time you've been at Fontainebleau?
This is the second time I've been here. I was here during Super Bowl last year.
Oh, so. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I had a great time. Probably too good of a time.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. When we started this program a while back, and I continue to say this to the audience, I just believe it's people like you that are creating a movement over time, where it used to be you go to college, you join a big corporation, you get your promotion to vice president, senior vice president, you retire, and then you get the golden key and you move on with your life. And today the economy is a lot more diverse, and I've often liked to say that, back in the day when I was going to school, you either become a doctor, lawyer, whatever the case may be, and all respectable, but today's world, I think, is becoming better because individual thought and freedoms are out there, and you represent that. Yeah. But your situation was so extreme, in my opinion, that I thought it needed to be talked about. So, Dale, welcome to the show. Thanks for spending some time with me.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into the conversation.
Yeah. So, for the audience, Dale, you came from pretty humble beginnings. Would you just mind just kind of starting off from kind of that point A and how you got involved, and then evolve us into how you got involved a little bit with pro sports and the Bachelor, and I'll inject where I need to.
All right, perfect. So I actually grew up in South Dakota, a small town, Midwest, and it's funny because even to this day, no one's ever met anyone from South Dakota. But we moved there when I was really young. Family just had to start over. My dad struggled with addictions and was in and out of jail or prison a lot from the time, up to the time I was 21 years old. And, he's since changed his life around. But that's kind of what got us there. And I always say I love where I grew up. I love how I grew up because at a young age, I learned and saw things that most kids probably don't. I was the only person of color in my community till the time I was a sophomore in high school. I didn't know my mom's side of the family much growing up just because of beliefs about biracial marriage. And, I think when I was a kid...
And that's so hard to believe in today's world.
It is.
Because we talk about it with such openness now.
Yep.
But back then it was almost kind of like...
Yeah, it makes me think like, how far we've come, but it definitely is a chapter, and I don't think a lot of people think about that right now, but that's definitely shaped my entire life on the importance of being a servant leader, making sure that people are seen and represented and, feel important. And that's kind of the through line for everything I do, whether it's business, my stuff in athletics, like whatever it is. At the root of it, there's, that driving force of maybe wanting to make it because I want to be an example of someone who didn't really have all the things at the beginning, and there's always a way out. So
yeah, and one thing that I want to convey on this program, because we have such a short period of time, is you're definitely the type of person that I always say to myself after the show, I want to get to know you better.
All right.
Because you took adversity, and instead of being angry about it, you created solutions. So, I find that inspiring, candidly. So, you were in South Dakota.
Yep.
You were obviously an athlete just like myself, because obviously our body types are so similar. You played professional football.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, you were also considering, like, basketball as well.
Yeah, professional basketball. So my mom actually in college played on the U.S. national team that traveled the globe. So I loved basketball. NBA was always what I wanted to do.
Was NBA your first passion, or was
basketball was always my passion.
Really?
Football is something I was good at, but even to this day, basketball is my passion. So I went to South Dakota State Division I school, and I played 4 years of basketball.
What was your position?
I came in as a point guard, but finished as a 3. So, I was playing above the rim, super athletic, and I just loved to get after it. One of the top defensive players in our conference year after year. But I had an opportunity to play professional basketball overseas, but I was recruited for both out of high school, and I didn't want to like leave something on the table. So in an odd transition, I passed up on the opportunity to play pro ball overseas and came back for a 5th year of eligibility at my university and to play football. I ended up leading our conference in receiving in that 1 year. Got a shot with the league, signed with the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
Out of free agency, go Pack go. And then while I bounced around
Who was the quarterback at the time?
A-Rod,
Oh,
Aaron Rodgers.
okay.
And being able to learn and see the type of player like that, especially with them just coming off the Super Bowl, it was
He was in his
amazing to
prime
see.
back then.
He was in his prime, and the organization was great. So I was very thankful to be able to see that. I saw the good organizations, and I saw some that were kind of a disaster at the time. But I think that also shaped me to understand like the environments and how important they are for either people to have success, but also business, because ultimately the NFL, it's a business in every sense,
Because, and we'll get to it, because you're actually doing some pretty cool things being an entrepreneur as well. And one of the things that are challenging to me always when I'm talking to individuals like yourself, because you guys are so multi-talented in so many areas, I only have so much time to talk about it.
Yep.
Okay, so, obviously you're in 2 team sports. Okay, you came from humble background. You came from, as you said, a biracial, situation that you felt, not necessarily comfortable, for lack of better words, based on some of the things that you were talking about. But it's kind of made you the man you are now. How the heck does Bachelor come into this whole thing? You know what I mean? 'Cause it seems so random.
Honestly, it was. I never watched the show before I was actually on it. I honestly.
How did they find you, or did you find them? I mean, it doesn't seem.
So
like
I was nominated by someone who's like a little sister to me in New York. I was doing business. I was hosting during Super Bowls. Things were good, but I was always on the road. And she's like, I never see you dating anyone. You're always traveling. I signed you up for this show, and you have to at least like see it through if they call. And they called, and right away I was like, hey, I'm not doing that shit. But she stayed on me, and she's like, no, you got to go through the process. So I went through the process, and then, I didn't really commit right away. And then, they're like, hey, we're getting ready to start filming. Do you want to do this? And it was like a week before they started filming. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to give up control, and if I built things right, they'll be there for me when I get back. And I was like, let's do it.
Did you enjoy it?
Honestly, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And I actually really welcomed being isolated, not having control of so many of these things. And I was, just myself throughout the process. So, again, while I'm not too involved with the franchise anymore at this stage in the game, I'm very grateful for that experience.
We had someone on the show a while back, and just a little while back, and I was asking him, is it tough to be authentic on that show? I mean, you got all these cameras on, or were you just like, no big deal?
It wasn't difficult for me at all. I didn't do anything that I didn't want to. There was probably times I was just walking off set because I was like, I don't want to be in this drama. But I think any environment, and this goes back to how I grew up, I had no option but to be myself. I was, and I also. One of the most important things to me is, and my dad would always say this, is like your name is all you have. So I've kind of owned that. I feel comfortable with who I am, how I connect with people. And if it doesn't work for some people, that's fine. But after being under a microscope and being judged for so many years growing up, I really got to a point where it's like, I don't need to hold the burden of trying to be something for everyone because it's exhausting. And if someone's going to accept me, they're going to accept me, and I can't control people's beliefs.
But it was also during an interesting period of time because it was during COVID.
Yeah, and I didn't know that going in. You heard rumblings that there were things going on. But yeah, the world was shut down and we were in this bubble and kind of, even though we were on TV, had this normal sense of life. And, I'd been in New York for 9 years. So New York was shut down and, we're isolated from our families, which honestly put a lot of pressure on people too, because they didn't know what was going on at home. When the world
Because time stopped.
entirely, and we were just in this bubble. I think
Was ratings through the roof? I guess it would have to be.
I think it was the most viewed show
Right.
in the history of the franchise during that time. So
Crazy. So
yeah.
people got to know your name. They knew who you were.
Yeah. So it was, and that was never really a thought process going into it, because
No, of course not.
the thing with these, they can go one way, they can go good,
Right.
they can go bad. It was, it definitely opened up a lot of doors, I would say, after the fact. I think with most things in my life,
But again, and this is where I want to pivot a little bit, it was just a chapter for you.
just a chapter. That's exactly
it's
what I
not
was
like
gonna
you're
say.
sitting there going, okay, I'm going to do, XYZ show, so on and so forth. I'm sure
Yep.
if it comes, it's great.
Yeah.
But it pivoted you in certain areas, and you use that as a platform to kind of carry you into different areas.
Yeah, I think if anything, it just enhanced some of the passions and the things that I was already doing. I tell a lot of people that my life as a whole didn't really change much after the show. There was more awareness and more access, but I was already in some great circles, and I felt very clear with the direction I wanted to go with my life.
I want to pivot here a little bit because, here you are, a professional athlete. You go do the Bachelor.
Yeah.
You come from this, what I consider a pretty interesting life already. So you're very blessed in that regard. And then you focused on Special Olympics.
Yeah.
And so maybe walk through our audience a little bit about how that pivot occurred. Like
Yeah, so
how did it all begin for you? And then you're doing some really cool stuff with that. So,
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about that.
it just goes back to purpose. I've been involved with the organization at a local level since I was a kid, because my sister Amber has physical and intellectual disabilities. So before the Bachelor and all that,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay,
but she's
so now you just answered the why.
yeah, she's ace. That's my best friend. But in 2015, I volunteered at the World Games in Los Angeles, and it changed my life forever. Roughly 10,000 athletes, 200 countries, largest humanitarian sporting event in the world. And then the next year, they gave me the honor of being a global ambassador. So since 2015, I've been working both in the U.S. and abroad at, on raising awareness, raising funding, thinking of creative partnerships to help enhance the experience for the 5 million unified sports athletes across the globe. And, fast forward, right now I'm working on a documentary with Radical Media to really highlight and hone in and tell the stories that a lot of people are really uncomfortable telling. And I think that's primarily because they're afraid to offend, or they just don't understand.
Sure. And can you give us a sneak preview on that a little bit? Because you got my interest.
Yeah.
When you say not to offend and so on and so forth, what are some of the, are you going more into the psychology of some of these things? Or, I don't even know where to begin to ask those questions.
Yeah.
So if you could walk me through it a little bit, it would be helpful.
So the framework of, it's called The Best of Us, Extraordinary Champions. And, we're really focusing for the next Summer Games. But I think, especially being a brother of, someone who's been through the organization and seeing it, like, I want to show the stories of the mother just trying to help their child get through the day, putting on the brace. I want to talk to the athletes about whether it was bullying, some of the real issues, like what it's like trying to have a relationship in this world with an intellectual disability, the loneliness, like the real human things that we all go through that a lot of people don't even think to ask, or they don't really think about. Like, we're all human, right? And there's 1 degree of separation from most people, and probably someone with an intellectual disability. And we want to track the athletes before the games, during their prep, really go into their homes and see what it's like in the day-to-day for their entire family, the obstacles, the triumphs at the games, which is the highest of the highs. And then one thing that most people don't think about is, like, after you experience probably the biggest moment in your life, with 70,000 people at the opening ceremony cheering your name, and just this insanely inclusive environment, what it's like transitioning out, right?
I was going to say, that's got to be a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
I mean,
back
you
to
were
the
in
real
professional
world.
sports,
Yep.
okay, and then when the spotlight's off,
Yeah.
I've also noticed professional athletes not necessarily yearning for it, but there's no serotonin that replaces it.
Yeah, or you play at the highest level and you get these experiences, and then, after you're out of that space, the world just seems so much different. And
And the awareness too, because the athletes
Yep.
are like, hey, I'm alive,
Yeah.
I'm relevant, and
Yeah.
now I'm no longer afraid.
yeah.
How do they deal with that?
I mean, I will say that each and I'll focus primarily on the U.S. There's chapters throughout every state, and some are really great. Some need a few more resources for their athletes, and the organization tries to do as much as they possibly can to keep opportunities going throughout the year. But what I can say is, like, the moment someone experiences a World Games or some of these bigger events and experiences, it's on their calendar on like how can I experience that again. And I'll be in Italy here soon for the World Winter Olympics, which I'm really excited about. But I think overall the purpose of this documentary, it's a humanity play, and it's really in today's day and age, and I feel like so much there's drama and people are just focused on things that have views. We're in kind of a crazy world right now, but I think we need more real purpose-driven stories, and this is one that we've went the direct-to-streamer route, and they love this concept. But this is one that I actually really want to go in the private space with corporate partners to really bring this to life and get communities involved, because I think it will go a long way. And personally, there's never been.
I mean, shameless plug. How do these corporations get a hold of you?
So I'm signed with United Talent. And Radical Media is my production partners, Academy Award-winning production company on this, and also through the organization, the Special Olympics International. We're always bouncing ideas off each other, but with this one, I think not only is it a benefit for people all across the globe, the way that it's framed is a tax write-off for a lot of these businesses, but they're really, I look at it as an impact investment, and it allows to really have a little bit more creative control and make sure that they're kind of putting their name to saying, hey, we stand for this, we stand for inclusivity, and also utilize their resources.
And a
to
sense of
enhance the
purpose.
message.
I mean,
Without
it's not
question.
just say, feel sorry for me, give me some money. I mean, it's like these kids are great athletes, aren't they? I
Yeah.
mean, they're I mean, I'm sure you have a couple of stories I've been a mile long that you can talk about the perseverance, not only just from a physical or
Yep.
an intellectual capability issue, and then coming to this level.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of emotional about it. I mean, that brings tears to your eyes.
Yeah, I mean,
I bet you have 1,000 of these stories.
There's so many, and the beautiful thing about it is it's one of those things that once you experience it, your life has changed. But each and every one of us can connect to some of these stories without question. We know what it's like to be isolated. We know what it's like to feel misunderstood. We know what it's like to feel alone or not seen. And even at the base, just right there.
Yeah, but for these kids, sorry to interrupt, but for these kids to see a professional athlete,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and to be able to come in and to be able to make influence there, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and I view the organization as family. We didn't have a lot growing up, and they provided resources for my sister that honestly saved her life. So,
Is your sister involved? Or?
she's not anymore. She's just chilling in South Dakota with the family. But she follows everything. She knows about the doc project. Who knows? She might be involved at some point once we really dive into the filming process. But she also knows that she's at the core of this entire project. So they take time, but we've got amazing partners. My agency's been amazing. And, I think we're just at a time where, people are looking for something really beautiful to attach to. And this is that project. And the organization supports me fully on it. So,
Dale, it's, well, first of all, thanks for that. I'm excited about it. So when it starts streaming, when we push this show out, we'll make sure we tag all the right people so that
Okay.
people in the audience can see the effect that you're having, the net effect. And it only takes one person to create that spark.
It really does. It really does.
But, you would think this is now that's your full-time job, and it somewhat is because it's your passion.
Yep.
But in getting to know you as well, you're this kind of serial entrepreneur where you're doing startups and so on and so forth. Spend a minute with me. Talk about that a little bit. Because, I was kind of, I'll be honest with you, you're telling me all this kind of, well, I'm always honest, but you kind of, you kind of walk me through all this kind of these cool experiences, and all of a sudden you're saying, hey, I'm with these new startups, so on and so forth. I'm putting people together. You definitely strike me as a community individual.
Yep.
And so, why startups? What are the type of startups that you're looking at? Because I just think, again, the way you guys think,
Yep.
your age levels, when I'm talking about with the greatest wealth transfer that's about to occur, there's I don't know if you know the stat, but there's almost $100 trillion that's going to pass hands.
Wow.
From the old to the young. And in fact, there's another stat that there are more people inheriting $1 million than making $1 million.
Damn, that's a crazy stat.
So if you think about that, it begs the question that, when you have a great idea, crowded spaces can happen very quickly.
Yep.
Because, something my father told me a long time ago, back in the 30s, there was no money, but a lot of smart people. Now there's a lot of money,
Yeah.
and not as many smart people. God rest his soul, he passed away. But I know that's a big generalization, but that was kind of the way he thought about things.
Yep.
Because during the Depression, it was an area of scarcity, and now we live in an arena of abundance.
Yep.
But if you water a plant too much, it dies.
Yep.
So here you are in these startups. Can you walk me through a couple of these startups that you're talking about, and what got you started in the startups?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes to that access, point. I think throughout a period of my life.
Did you meet them through professional sports, or
I met a lot.
How did it come through?
A lot has come through just from my work in the health and wellness space, also in the documentary and the film space, and then being in New York in the media and marketing capital of the world. So as a creator or influencer, not only was I, signed with a lot of these brands, but I was also advising on them on helping produce a lot of their things. And over a period of this time, I just felt like I just felt like my hit rate would have been so high with these companies that started off and then ended up exiting for like 200 million and things like that. And primarily in the health and wellness space.
What do you think that big white space is for you? I mean, where's the gaps?
Premium, for me, premium wellness.
What does that mean?
I think premium wellness, like consumer brands, whether that's nutrition supplements, skincare, things like that, people are investing more than ever. I also think the tech space in the wellness space, because data, AI, analytics, and longevity is at the forefront of so many things. Even myself starting a nutrition supplement brand with some amazing business partners out of Costa Rica. And we're kind of creating a new space, in the daily gut health area.
Dale, I wish I had 3 hours with you because I find people like yourself gifted. And I'm very touched by not only your experiences, because you could have taken that and made it into anger, and you created solutions behind it.
Yeah.
I find you incredibly inspiring. I'd like to keep in touch. I'd like to have you back.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to find out what this gut health thing's all about.
Yeah, we could dive into that.
And then I really want to get more engaged with what you're doing with the Special Olympics, because it's not just, I almost feel like it does more for you than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some kind of spiritual way for you.
Yeah,
And,
it keeps me going without question.
I think people are lucky to meet you, Dale.
Yeah.
So thanks for your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
All right.
you having me on, brother.
All right. Take
Indeed.
care.
Changing the game, shattering expectations, rewriting the rules. Meet the new visionaries, the rebels, the ones who dare to disrupt.
When you're on a show like this, we're always talking about disruption.
The Disruptors. From the Fontainebleau Las Vegas Resort.